Thank you. I am tall. I am tall. Dun, dun, dun. Hi there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tolerating a lot of things about women's rights because they related to a book that I released from last year, but they also relate to things that are still going on now. I shared them with you earlier because I didn't want to do that in the feature and I wanted to be more sciencey, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, you guys. You're triple plus awesome. I don't know how else to say it. But the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to read to you the first and last poems in the book, and they will close out this feature for you. And this is, I have to find it for you. Now I have to find it because I just lost it. There we go. Alabama feature. Here we go. This is the first poem that appears in the book because this is called The Universe is in Your Hands, which is why, if you looked at it, there is a cover from the first shot from the James Webb Space Telescope there that is superimposed over the United Nations building. And that's why there are lots of flags around as well, all sorts of stuff all about the universe as well as the Earth. And that is why the first poem in the book is titled Beginning of the Universe. I submit, in the first inextricably hot moment of the universe, plasma, our fourth state of matter, may have been the first matter. One matter couldn't even exist in our universe. It seems so insurmountable, understanding where we came from, how everything began. People talk about the Big Bang Theory, and that's exactly what it is, a theory. But these science types keep finding more evidence to back up their crazy claims. So whether you believe the universe started as a speck of nothingness with enough energy to create and define everything, these theories still seem beyond our feeble imaginations. But after astrophysicists have speculated, try to imagine this. After that first great explosion, wait, if there's no sound waves or life, explosion is way too a human term. After that first monumental expansion of so much energy out of nothingness, expanding at insurmountable speeds and creating space itself, all of this energy, massless energy, too hot and energetic to create atoms, was all too hot to even form protons and neutrons. Well, that left the universe these quarks, subatomic particles that couldn't even bind to create anything in that first second. So, what do you get when quarks get all hot and bothered? That's when they clicked with gluons and created, quote, a perfect liquid in its first moment. Because when the universe was too hot for energy to trade some energy for mass in the as of yet non-existent Higgs field, the gluons could at least stick these quarks together, making an irreplaceable plasma. Now, it might be a mistake to call it a liquid, because plasma, like heated gas, would be impossible to feel in your hands. So they call it a liquid, but it's not like water in serene hot springs or almost too warm bubble baths, because this fraction of a second universe, 10 to the 10th power Kelvin, is beyond too warm. Because really, with such scalding temperatures and no matter to get in the way, these gluons clump these quarks, and all they can do is flow in the smoothest slide. We often call plasma the fourth state of matter, but in this fractionally sized and timed universe, these quark and gluon plasma may literally be the first state of matter our universe has ever known. We look up at the night sky, marvel at the stars sparkling through our atmosphere, and we never think of the forces that hold things together in this ever-expanding universe. Strong and weak nuclear forces, electromagnetism and gravity, the weakest of the four. But in the very beginning, all of these forces binding us together had to start after the universe started. And if these science types have their calculations right, these fundamental forces started fractionally after quarks, gluons, and muons were created, which only later then clumped into protons, neutrons, atoms, where matter could even be made. So, Although we can't imagine it, since we could never touch or feel plasma, stop for a moment and imagine the ethereal feel of a fog blanketing mountaintops. Or, better yet, sense the steam of boiling water, maybe from piping hot coffee, with all that energy waiting to be released. Thank you. I know. Sorry. So I'll try to find places from around that. Science? What? So I thought I would go next to Ukraine, and this one is titled Ukraine, Rights, Freedom, and Peace. It doesn't matter if the Cold War is over. The U.S. will still turn a cold shoulder to one leader who wants everyone to be equal. Translation, drop down people to the lowest common denominator and ask them all to be happy in their lower caste. So in '86, after Ukraine's Chernobyl meltdown, still in the Soviet Union, shorthand for USSR, globally we saw damage throughout Europe and only later learned of their shoddy efforts to keep the nuclear reactor running so they could flex their strength and superiority over the US. It's still taking years for Ukraine to break free. Their job was then to monitor the monster that once rained nuclear ash the size of silver dollars down on the townspeople. And they did well, but the people hated their leader and voted a comedian to rule. A literal stand-up comic was voted into power. And this may have been the point when Putin thought that he could bring Russia's forces in so that he could take more of his Mother Russia's land back. The world didn't expect the once comedian, now leader Zelensky to do more than crumble under the pressure. But he got rid of the business suit and got in the trenches with his fellow men, live streaming the post-battle damage. Because this is how countries save themselves at their inception. Not with bureaucracy, but with fighting tooth and nail for their rights. It may be bloody, it may seem hopeless, but when you know it's right, you know you have no choice. People around the world rally their support, send weapons, allow refugees. Some, too far away to make a difference, only show symbols of their support. Facebook profile pics become adorned with the Ukraine flag. Maybe it's because we abhor those pinko commies, but maybe it's fundamentally because we know a bully when we see one, and we all deep down support what's right. I think I might have two about this for, I think this might be, the next two might be for India. I know this one is. This is the Unmarried Women and Dead Bodies Everywhere. The universe is in your hands of it, believe it or not. The Ganges River in India is most sacred to Hindus. But on one day, not too long ago, they discovered 28 bodies at one tributary of the Ganges River. Online news sources explain that the bodies may have been left when families couldn't afford a burial. Now, I read the Star of India arriving to me daily, reporting that they found 104 bodies. The local papers then explained that this is a custom in some cultures, that when unmarried women die, their bodies are dumped in the river. Unrecognizably decomposed, more and more bodies of unmarried women kept floating to the surface in just a few days in this sacred Ganges River. I kept looking for an explanation, and all I could imagine was that because this river was supposed to be sacred, it may have been their effort to give these women a family in the afterlife by putting them in this river they call sacred. Because I know how they view women in India. Cover their skin, don't allow them to talk back, but give them something to hope for in the afterlife. For even though women are treated like nothing by men there, they'd be less than nothing if they weren't even married. Yeah. All right, this one isn't about women, but it is about India. And it comes with pictures, and these pictures, if I'm showing them to you, they appear in the book. They won't be in color, and you won't see them here, but you'll have to buy the book to see it. And if you get it today, you can get it for only $10. I can be my salesperson. This is 150 years. What did we learn? The universe is in your hands. Edit. This was written on the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. Walking through New Delhi, I photographed the statue of Mahatma Gandhi leading the salt march in the ocean to get salt there for free after Britain said that they had to buy their heavily taxed salt instead. But why pay for something over British tyranny when they could just walk the 390 kilometers to the ocean to get the salt themselves? 80 started in the Dandi March. That grew to 50,000 because so many protested the British imperial salt tax. This was the initiation of the civil disobedience movement that led to Britain leaving India. I left New Delhi, paid my way in Visakhapatnam with money emblazoned with that picture of Mahatma Gandhi's march. And it made me think of the historic protests and acts of civil disobedience that changed the world. And then I think of the marches that occur with amazing regularity in the city I now reside. And I forget what all the protests are even for anymore. There seem to be just so many, and from what I can tell, nothing comes from this kind of civil disobedience any longer. It seems that everyone wants to jump on the protest bandwagon, and then one protest after another leads to people walking together, feeling good about themselves, and thinking they've made a difference, and posting their Instagram pics that have been making a difference on Facebook and Twitter, Pinterest, and every other online medium that can prove it, when nothing has actually changed. I know that leading by example alone is hardly the solution, but the 21st century walking in unison may no longer accomplish anything other than stroking walkers' egos. This may be the dilemma of modern times, when too many people see a problem and they do not know what to do other than to walk. What is the walk accomplishing other than improving your health and making you feel morally superior? Because I'm positive Mahatma Gandhi, opting to weave his own clothes instead of buying clothes to support a system that he didn't believe in, he didn't do that to feel all high and mighty. Most people now take a break from their workday to participate in a march, and then they go back to their everyday lives. Mahatma Gandhi changed his life. The march was only a part of the story, and as a result, he changed the world too. Mahatma Gandhi didn't jump on a bandwagon to join others to protest for change. He started that journey himself, which he still does in those who start those journeys to this day. I've got the thing for Tennessee here. This is The Universe is in Your Hands, Edit. Only $10 tonight only. Titled Obfuscate the Truth. The most ludicrous thing is when people try to legislate untruths and expect everyone to just go along with them. That man could obfuscate race, gender, science, and the truth. We hold these truths to be self-evident, you all boldly proclaim, but do you? What is your definition of truth? And at what lengths will you go to obfuscate the truth? NACLU wanted a test case against the constitutionality of the Butler Act in Dayton, Tennessee's Scopes trial, or the Monkey trial, in an attempt to gain crucial limelight to the injustices of deliberately not teaching science to children. A team of businessmen approached the substitute teacher, John Thomas Scopes, stating that the Butler Act prohibited teaching human evolution. But the state required all teachers to use the assigned test book for Hunter's Civic Biology, which actually contained that evolution. Scopes wasn't sure he even taught evolution, but chose to be their defendant. The defense fought gallantly, but their efforts didn't matter when they lost. Scopes had to pay a $100 fine and was even harassed afterwards for years, even schooling at the University of Chicago. But the seed was planted, and it would take time, only time, before ignorance would then be overturned by the eyes of the law. This trial set modernists against fundamentalists who said the Word of God as revealed in the Bible took priority over all human knowledge. This is where the debate began, and this is where this tenuous debate will fight and flourish. Do you believe in truth through evidence, or do you believe in a centuries-old book that the world accepts on faith? Are the courts here defending blind faith, or do they defend people's right to make their own choices for themselves? Your choices in politics are so directly interlinked with religion and with science and with knowledge. So, choose wisely. Doing all these things about Earth, I'm gonna have to do something outside of Earth. Because I cover that in here too. What? I've never shared this one before. Well, of course not. It's in The Universe is in Your Hands. And this is the poem that's titled, Our Interlocked Dance with the Moon. And he laughs. Our Interlocked Dance with the Moon. Ripples from the tides lap along the shore as our eyes gaze up to the man on the moon, this mysterious being born from us, as we feel led in our interlocked dance. We croon and wax poetic about this seemingly mythical enigma, but scientists add more satellites to orbit the moon for research. Now, since moon clocks are faster than Earth clocks, the U.S. government wants NASA to establish a moon time zone. Really? That, and NASA sent me an email recently about sending them a job application to become an astronaut. Now, I know I don't have the technical knowledge to fly in outer space. Besides, I'd rather be their second artist in residence instead. But NASA hasn't sent me emails to apply for that job. The thing is, it wasn't from astronauts or NASA or the news that I learned about our seemingly never-ending dance with the moon that it will end. These tides we keep attributing to the moon, well, Earth's rotation pushes the tidal budget slightly ahead of the moon, feeding bits of energy into the moon, pushing out the moon's orbit, spinning away from the Earth close to 1.5 inches every year. And I first learned this from NASA's artist in residence. Because the artists are the ones who tell you the good stuff. Like during Cold War, before they put man on the moon, the Air Force tried to set off nuclear bomb on the moon, something visible to the naked eye on Earth, because that, they thought, quote, would boost the morale of the American people. Really? Then again, after a year of Laurie Anderson's artist in residency, NASA asked her what her progress was, and she told them she was writing one long poem. That is when NASA halted this artist in residence program. So, when all these science types are taking over the moon, where does that leave room for us poets, artists, dreamers? That the first poem of the book was Beginning of the Universe. I'm going to read the last poem for you guys. It's the last one for the feature, and this is titled End of the Universe.
Good.
Good. When is it going to end?
You want the universe to end?
It's all speculation, man. I submit. Us science types look for theories to explain what will happen to the universe. I mean, we come up with theories. I mean, that's what we science types do. We come up with these theories, and our job is to prove or disprove. And when it comes to postulating how the universe will end, one theory is that even though the universe is expanding now, gravity will reign supreme and the universe will collapse everything together again in the big crunch before another big bang starts it all over again. Another theory is that the expansion of our universe will reign supreme over gravity, the weakest of the four fundamental forces, and everything will lose more and more energy, dissolving into nothingness. Now, this would mean that energy, that like radiation, its light waves would stretch, become visible light. And these light waves would stretch even more to become ultraviolet light. And if the universe keeps expanding like this, with this energy into audio waves, do our human frailties make the poet, philosopher anthropomorphize the science? For if this is what becomes of energy, would the universe suddenly be very noisy, very dark, and very noisy? Would the decibels go so up as the universe makes a blanketing, overwhelming, post-matter shattering series of sirens? Would it be a cacophony of chaos? Or, because of the ever-expanding universe, would the noises be so far away that they would only be faint pleas, separated by no longer existing light years, but would sounds be separated by ever-increasing parsecs? So, instead of that cacophony, would the ever-expanding space force these outstretched pleas, these tiny bits of energy traveling through space, alone, getting more and more lonely? With these tiny waves of energy traveling through space, would they even make a sound if there was no one there to hear them?
Yeah.
Thank you. They're all $10, even the old ones. They're worth more than that, and you can grab them right now tonight. And if anybody wants to, does this place have Malort?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to, I've never had Malort, and I know what it, but if anybody wants to buy me a shot of Malort, this would be the one place I'd do it. So,
When's your next feature?
my next feature is, well, I'm going to be reading Saturday morning for WCRD radio, but then Saturday night I will be at Tangible Books. Yay, Tangible Books! And I feel bad that I might leave early, but I'm going to start my feature early there so that I can haul my butt afterward upstairs and try to make it up to uptown to try to make it in time for Windy City Words. And then on Sunday I'm a beach feature as well. I'm the last one of the season, so I'll be there on Sunday as well. So I have Facebook links for those events. If you want to check them out, I would love to see you. And thank you all. Thank you for the reminders, and thank you so very much. And thank you, and thank you, and thank you, Gallery Cabaret. I should get one.